Of course, once again, episode number 10. Carmel and Kelly, Mancave Classified. We want to welcome you guys to our little virtual man caves that are constantly
Enjoy them.
a little different every time we meet up. Oh, I got to turn down the main one. There we go. Carmel, I love the conversation piece that we're going to be doing today because my first discovery of Andrew Tate was a couple months ago. I mean, I've seen him, for the last couple of years, but not big time. And it was generally in a position where he was surrounded by beautiful women.
Mm-hmm.
And he was having a conversation about how they need to be submissive, get off Instagram, stop sleeping around with hundreds of guys, stop posting pictures of yourself all over the world, just you, knowing fully that some guy picked you up, took you someplace, and you're on Instagram trying to, and he's kind of insulting them. He's kind of doing a whole bunch of different things, but there were some things that were making sense, and there were some things that was a little ludicrous, and there were some things that to me, when I started hearing him talk about God, I'm like, oh crap. But what I have seen in the last like 48 hours on, I don't even want to say it's a deep dive because I just literally had a bunch of videos thrown my direction. We're going to talk about a few of them. One, him admitting that his dad was CIA. As you kind of know, in my position and through years, those types of family lines and the stuff that I hear, it always gets tossed down to and through family members. Not saying he is CIA or isn't CIA, nobody would know. But to me, there is a definite agenda and a definite thing going on here that I just want to bring to light because he's going from supposedly a CIA operative, and then the guy that we're going to show this video, and there's a guy, and he's like, but it doesn't make sense because they took down his social media account, and I'm like, of course it does. You can take down somebody's social media account. He's got enough videos out there that go viral anytime that he may be down, but he's still getting 1 billion views. People are still searching him out. He's the number one Googled name on all over the world. Nobody's Googled more than Andrew Tate. So I'm like, and then I see this one last video, and we're gonna talk about it. But it's the call for the Islamification of all Western nations, and there's a whole nother conversation there of forced, and Christians are just as guilty. Throughout history of forcing their faith upon the people. It's no different. And we're looking at it today with the Muslim faith being a little bit different than the Christian faith today, being a little bit more assertive and kind of doing what they do in countries. They don't force them. They just breed them out. And those are their words. And so I want to get your take on Andrew Tate. What is the reason why there is such an interest in this guy? I mean,
I think it's twofold. I think there's a part of Andrew Tate that is like, remember the guy Dave Bazarian? That was like, he was on everything.
Bro, that guy is just straight up crazy.
Okay, so there's a little Andrew Tate-esque, there's a little Dave Bazarian-esque level to Andrew Tate. This playboy millionaire living this wild lifestyle that appeals to both men and women. Then there's also the controversial takes he has that, women looking for traditional men but not living traditional lifestyles, which is, and again, I agree with that as well. How are you going to ask for a man to, treat you like a traditional woman? You don't live like one. And then there's also his controversial way he's made money through, paid adult sites and stuff like that, and OnlyFans type stuff. So he's hitting on a lot of like tangential, trendy things that I think everyone kind of either wants to know about or just blatantly don't really care. I'm kind of in the same category. I didn't really know who he was till, not that it was too late, but till like on the downside of his rise and fall. But he's a very interesting character when you look at his background. And I think how he's connected to all these things when you come to the government and religion and you know, internet, social media, he's touching so many points in the world right now. It's really interesting. Um,
There's a lot of people are gravitating towards this guy left and right, and it's generally it's the young, it's the youth. They're trying to be a
mhm,
top G themselves, and top G is a top dog, it's top alpha, it's the alpha male, it's the and there's a lot of things this guy says, but he's comparing himself to a tiger, a lion. He's comparing himself to that kind of life, like a king, a
mhm,
true sovereign sentient, somebody that has multiple wives, has multiple concubines, has the ability to go anywhere in any relationship he wants, and then keep that wife at home, and submissive and supportive and not loud and not and it's that quote unquote to me that's not an ideal situation, to be honest with you. To me it's one's enough. I get it. There's a lot of people out there that might think different, and I get it. You could be in a position where you run into somebody on the streets you might find attractive. I'm good with what I have. I'm not
mhm.
necessarily out there trying to meet multiple women or have multiple conversations or even put myself out there like that. But there's a big attraction to that. There's a lot of young males that want to play the field. They want the Ferraris, the Lambos, the Bugattis. They want the cigar. They want the jet, the fast cars, fast woman. They want the fighting. They want to know how to fight. That's an attraction. He's a world class
Mhm.
kickboxer. He's won many many titles. Where I lost respect from Carmelo is to find out how he made his money.
Yeah.
Um, anybody can anybody can turn out a woman um, and get behind them on OnlyFans. And this guy openly admitted to conning men out of hundreds, if not millions of dollars, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars by playing games with their heads through these women. And even when these women were sleeping, he would talk about how he had WhatsApp and all these texting services already set up for all these women. And he'd be texting these guys and just trying to get them played out in their head. And he flat out said, he said, I could get them 100% of the time, without doubt, handing me hundreds of thousands of dollars. We would identify who was the money makers. We'd identify. And so this is his claim to fame. Hello, I'm a piece of ass. I'm a piece of crap.
Mhm.
And this is what I do for a living, and this is how I've made my millions in cars and this, that, and the other. And to me, that's low life. That's not. It's
Yeah, and I agree. And it's funny because he's really not doing anything different than a lot of the industries in our world today. The difference is he's admitting it. He's putting it in your face. But how is this any different from the pharmaceutical industry, banking, fast food? Uh, I mean, just even I mean, he's using sex to sell and make money. That's all over marketing. So not that I agree with it, but a lot of people are just sheep and they do dumb stuff. And you know, in a way, he's kind of putting it out there that look, anyone could do this. Now, here's the thing about being the top dog, top G, as he puts it. Uh, that's not for everybody. Like anyone who wants to get into this situation, I know polyamory is like a big thing that's coming up a lot now. People harking back to ancient times and days, and they need to realize that the person or man who could do that could sustain and provide for that many women. It wasn't just about having a bunch of girls on the side. It was about creating an empire through bloodlines and women and children, and being able to forticate and fortify that that empire, not just I got chicks, and having like we're talking about the 1% of the 1% that's going to be having all the stuff he's talking about, and
That's the same thing with any money situation. It's the separation of the haves and the have-nots. I mean, everybody that doesn't have wants to be like that guy. They want to be
mhm,
adored like that guy. You know what? The number one thing today, and this is a sad state of our you know our youth. the number one aspiration. It used to be a cop. It used to be a police, officer or a fireman. And now it's influencer. And that's what all kids want to be today. They want to be an influencer.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to be an influencer. I'm not trying to be anything other than, somebody who's trying to tout the truth out there. And you watch some of these kids get on Instagram and set their accounts up, especially these young women, and setting up their accounts, and every single shot is as if they were a professional model. Every single shot is, they really are structuring their IG accounts to be like their modeling portfolio. But that's what everybody is doing. Everybody's moving from this real life world into this digital concept world of what's reality. But unfortunately, with Tate and his little push and his little empire, nobody's going to hit the mark. Nobody's going to be like Andrew Tate. Nobody. And so there's a reason for who he is and what he's doing. And it's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. What is his purpose? Why it is so pumped up? Why is he in jail in Romania or wherever without any charge made? And then I watched this guy in this video, and he said, Kelby. He didn't say Kelby, but he said Kelby. He said, when Andrew gets out of jail without a charge, he is going to have his first show, and it'll be the biggest show that's ever aired on the internet across the world. It'll have 100 million views within an hour. He said, that guy now has a platform unlike anybody else ever on the face of the earth. And I'm like thinking to myself, okay, what's he going to do with that platform? Then I see this next video. Let me show it real quick, if you don't mind. It's going to open up with some kind of creepy
Drag
stuff.
is holy. Jesus called himself a mother hen. Gender is a construct, you see. And if Jesus can be a mother hen, then you can dress in drag. I've even heard it said that Jesus was, and humanity is, God in drag.
I call for the Islamification of all Western countries because Christianity has absolutely and utterly failed. The idea of a religion is to preserve the morality and preserve the traditions of the country. If you have failed to do that, then you're no longer a religion. If you're going to sit there and inside of your own country, your prophets are mocked, all of your ideals are ignored.
And it's okay.
And it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And society is degenerating in real time, and your children are no longer safe from brainwashing by the Matrix, then your religion in and of itself as a concept has failed. Christianity has failed to preserve Christian values on any level in any country ever. So now that you know it's a failed religion, Islam's the only religion left on the planet. There's no other religion you can possibly name that even matters.
Wow. So I saw that, and Carmel, I don't know where you went, but my heart just kind of sunk, and I'm like thinking to myself, okay, so what? I understand that, and this isn't to put down any religions, because I'm the first, and look, I'm going to speak to the Muslim community real quick. I think every religion, including theirs, including Christianity, has failed principles from a standpoint of how the Bible has, quote unquote, been translated, misinterpretations of what God's heart is. And I think that's the biggest one. And so when I look at Christianity, quote unquote, in general, I don't look at it as any better than the Muslim faith, because I've seen what the Christian community or the Catholicism did in the 1500 with the Crusades. And I've seen these elements of crucifying the non-believer, and knowing that, I've literally apologized to Muslims for what we have done in the name of democracy and going into their countries and flipping them upside down and making them a part of the world order structure and system, because we're just we're a huge nation with a huge military industrial complex, and it was always to push a world order agenda. And now Muslims, I believe, are another major step in to help the world order push that world order agenda to eradicate Christianity and Christians off the face of the earth. Thoughts on that statement?
Well, yeah, when it comes to religion, it's So before, yeah, when we mentioned the 1500s, we can do the Crusades, we can do all the burnings at the stake, we can do the purification of the world that Catholicism pushed. Is that what Islam's doing today? I don't know. But religion to me, whether it's Islam, Judaism, Christianity, Protestant or Catholic, Buddhist, it's the man-made part of it. It's the man element that bothers me. So whatever faction of Islam that this is bringing, because there's not just Islam's no different than Christianity in that there's more than just Islam, and everyone's in that same category. Whether it's like the blacks in the Nation of Islam, people who are very fanatical and with the jihad and all that stuff, and there's sects of militant groups inside of Islam religion, whatever. I always look at it, what is it trying to get me to feel? Like what are you trying to get me to hold on to or give up? So if Andrew Tate's saying Christianity failed, what was its goal? What was the goal of Christianity that it failed at? Because if it's about, these moral issues of like, purity and being a good person, the golden rule and all that stuff, 10 Commandments, and what the church puts out there, it's different than what the Bible is saying. And same thing with the Quran. There's things in the Quran that people who are Islamic or Muslim don't necessarily preach or teach. So I'm kind of iffy on even having an opinion about it for right now, but it's kind of early for me. I mean, Andrew Tate's background is interesting. So like his dad was a world-class chess player. And I believe
I can't even say it. A language expert for the CIA.
Yeah, linguistic expert, right. I think he was in the Air Force. So
originally, yeah.
Yeah. So anyone that has that kind of background, that's that deep in the Air Force, I think he's actually in the Hall of Fame for chess in the Air Force, which is really interesting. And some of the stories about him playing chess was interesting. Like some guys called him, I think his nickname was like E.T. because he played out of this world, and the way his mind worked, who knows what kind of like programming he had or been given through the CIA. After, if you see that this guy has a brain for, tactile movements and strategy like that, what do you then teach him to be able to do? And what did he teach his kid to do? Because we know how deep propaganda is and how layered it is and how strategic it is. It's never the thing you see in front of you, Andrew Tate creating this persona.
Well, Andrew Tate's dad shared that with him. And I think that resonates with the youth today, because Andrew Tate's dad said to Andrew that the first thing is you can't trust media or anything that it says. And so what is that doing? It's putting Andrew Tate and his message in kind of like a alignment with pretty much everybody out there and getting the views and getting the prompts. Sometimes I have videos that just take off, Carmel, and it's because that's what YouTube wants. That's what Facebook wants. That's what, and it doesn't matter. And YouTube took down my account. Facebook took down my account. You can't even type hisadvocates.org on Facebook in a message or on Facebook and make a post because they don't want anything to do with sharing. So my point is this, Carmel, if they didn't want this guy's message out, they would crush it in a sec. They could do facial recognition, voice recognition, anything that comes up, quash it. Anything. I mean, you can't even share some certain videos on Instagram more than a few times, and then it won't let you share. I just think that because the social media empires are behind him, not against him, even though they took down his accounts, they're still pushing billions of views.
Mm-hmm.
They're still showing, like Google still will show who he is instead of giving a single answer because of this guy's hate rhetoric. Listen to me. This is one of the biggest things that I'm kind of laughing at myself when you look at rhetoric and hate speech and all that stuff. I got accused of hate speech on HISadvocates, and I have no idea what I said, and I've never touted anything from a racial standpoint or anything of the kind. And so when I was touted as hate speech, and I'm looking at it, guys like Andrew Tate, I'm like, are you kidding me? Really? You know, and calling women property and doing what he does, and he's not sequestered, he's not stopped, and when he goes live, millions of people are watching. So I find it interesting, bro. That a couple billion people are viewing this guy every, however often.
And that makes me think, I always look at the reverse engineering of something. So like if I threaten to take something away from you, people instantly, the natural reaction is to grip whatever that thing is. I'm gonna hold on to it. So like if I tell you I'm gonna take away your guns, I'm gonna keep your guns. I'm saying I'm gonna take away your food, grip on our food. Whatever I tell you. So like the threat of taking away, or the threat of Christianity going away, and then like naturally what's gonna happen is Christians are going to naturally be like, no, we're not going away. We're not going to be quiet. It almost creates a rebellion, a revolt, a revolution, or like, an uprising of people. So, because if you mention certain things, like you said, certain words we say right now, they shut it down because they don't want us talking about those things. They don't want people getting uproarious about certain things. If he's being allowed to talk about, Christianity in a negative light, what is that? Again, what I'm thinking is, what do they want us to do or react to his message, and why do they want us to do that? It's almost a trap to me. That's what I'm looking at. Why do you want me to get to that point where I act that way? Because then what's going to happen?
So I have a video of Andrew Tate's manager. I don't think we need to watch it, to be honest with you. If you want to, we can, but where his manager's saying he reached out to him in 2017, and he was a tactical firearms training expert, and that he invited Tristan and Andrew over to his place, his business place, and then when they showed up, he had 2,000 rounds ready for him, and they said they had fired 8,000 rounds or 9,000 rounds, and he said the one thing that he noticed about these guys is they were just straight up built differently, both of these brothers. And what he meant by that, he said, I showed Tristan, Andrew's brother, how to undercover flip magazines, drop a magazine and put a new magazine. I showed him one time, and he said he did it like an expert from day one. And so for me, it was like, that could be true. I mean, I learned fast, Carmel. I can fire a gun and hit targets and make balls bounce across the desert floor. And, I'm a good shot. Can I learn something in a single view and look like an absolute expert, which is what his manager said out of these guys? The answer is no. It takes practice, so everything is practice, and especially shooting. Everything is practice. So to hear that these guys were operating like experts from day one doesn't mean necessarily a whole bunch, because maybe they've been out shooting before. Maybe they've practiced this before. Maybe it is a practice thing for them. It just says to me, okay, it's like another notch in the, could they actually be CIA? But what, for me, like, really dotted the I's and crossed the T's. I'm like, are you serious? Is that video of him going from believing in God to saying now what he said about Christianity is a failed religion, and then calling for the Islamification of all Western nations. Now, with the biggest platform, pissing off every Muslim, going to rile them up. And that's really what has been long talked about in my era, knowing that the Muslim community, rightfully so, listen to me very careful, for the Muslim community, rightfully so, you're pissed off at us. And I agree. And I want to tell a quick story so you understand my heart. I was in a cab with a Muslim from Iraq, and And I said, bro, do you mind if I tell you something really quick? And he's like, sure. And he's giving me a ride around New York City. And I said, I just want you to know from the bottom of my heart, I am truly sorry for the representation of what we did to your country. I am absolutely horrified by what happened. I know for a fact that 500,000 of your kids were killed in the war. And I went down the numbers, and here's this guy in the front seat, Muslims, crying. So that's my heart. Muslims have a right to be pissed off at America. They have a right to be pissed off at the Western countries. And it's not the Western countries that are doing this. It's guys that are very powerful that can take guys like Andrew Tate and put them in positions like that and make you think, as a Muslim, he is your brother, make you think that he is with you, rolling hard with you, generating a truth with you. And the reality is, yeah, America screwed up attacking these countries, and they did it for a reason, because they needed control. They needed to kill the petrodollar. They need to bring in the world order. There's much bigger agendas at play, and it has nothing to do with the people of our nation. It has, and I know that there is this war that is going to take place between religions and countries, and it's a sad state. But I'm seeing this guy as being a major tool and a platform to be able to make that accomplished.
So let's look at it like this. So so Andrew Tate was born in DC. But people connect him, yes. But people connect him to England.
Because he sounds like it, he lives there.
Right. So there's a lot of things, again, there's a lot of moving parts to his backstory and who he is. Again, it kind of goes towards, I've spoke about this before on our show, about how this country, or the powers that be, because again, if he's from England, he's in DC. Yeah, it's not even just like, America. It's several countries involved in this. I think they want us to fight, and that's what I'm trying to get at. Is a lot of the things we see in our world create division, and how can we get one side to rise up against the other? War is one of the easiest way to make money. I mean, so many of the richest families on the planet have funded wars and funded both sides, and then picked up the scraps and got richer. So,
like the Catholic Church,
exactly. So, like, let's, so if we create another,
that's a fact. I mean, I'm not putting down Catholics, but that's a fact.
And and here's the thing, man, if people who are Catholic, Christian, whatever, you get offended by your history, that's on you. Like, you weren't there when it happened, but that's the history. That's what's there to get offended by? Like, stuff bothers me. Like, oh, we didn't do that, or they were. It's not. The church got rich off of that stuff, and to this day, I think the Catholic Church is the wealthiest corporation in the world.
Biggest landowner.
Biggest landowner by far. So whatever you want to say, here's the results. And they're not giving up that land either. That's what's funny. They're not like making homeless shelters or free hospitals. They put like a museum or another freaking cathedral up. So there's something to him creating this division. There's something to him getting young disenfranchised males. His approach is not much different than Trump's, because Trump went at poor, disenfranchised white America, down south, middle of the Midwest, people who were struggling, blue collar workers, and he got them to believe. And to his credit, he actually did some things for the country and for those people. What he's doing with it now, after such, but Andrew Tate seems to be very similar in that aspect, speaking to young and disenfranchised men. Hey, you might be maybe you're a beta male, maybe you're an omega male, maybe you're in the back of the pack. Here's how to get in the front of the pack. Here's how to become the best top G you can be, and da 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 da. And then you get these dudes riled up and it doesn't happen. Just end up like actually killing themselves off. So, or us as a society, like let's get the Muslims and the Christians fighting at each other. We already have, the big debate between jab and no jab that went on the past 2-3 years. Let's create a new one. That one's gone down. We need a new one. So let's go Christians and Muslims. Let's bring that back. So to rise above that is difficult because people have these loyalties to things that they grew up with, whether it's religion, whether it's, a political background. My dad was a Democrat. My mom was a Democrat. People bank at the same bank for decades because their dad and their grandma and whoever else did it. So it's going to be hard to break those loyalties and those ties, but people get so passionate about it when they see it on Instagram, because the things you see on social media create such bonds on people. Like there's so strangleholds that us speaking even in person to someone about it, they almost get offended. Like, you're not taking this away from me. Like, this is part of my identity, whether it's a podcast I follow or an influencer I follow, and then they want to try to live that lifestyle. If you try to tell them, yo, this is not reality, they're going to fight you on that tooth and nail. And it's like, when you go home at night and you actually walk around your house, you don't see that lifestyle. You're not living like that. When you go and hang out with your friends, do you act like this in front of your friends? No. So why do you want to try and emulate that? Because they see it so much. This function right here, this feature, it's everything to people. And Andrew Tate has capitalized on it, and the people behind him know that, and whether George Soros' name pops up again or, any of these other world leaders who, function behind the scenes to get trends or agendas pushed, I'm not going to be surprised.
Looking at like even, what's that guy's name? Why am I blanking on the biggest podcaster in the world's name? What's his name again? Oh, Joe Rogan. Yeah, Joe Rogan was talking about Andrew Tate, and I was kind of blown away by his sentiments on how because Joe Rogan's got the biggest podcast in the world, but it's that enabling with guys like Joe and the different guys that are out there that are enabling this kind of rhetoric or this kind of communication or this kind of this dialogue that people are absolutely believing in and upon. And it's like anybody with a sense of morality needs to look at the character of the individual first and what they've done to get them to the position that they're in and then judge them, because to be a top G is not to be the best pornography pusher in the world. It's, and I have a different position of what that looks like. I have a different thought process. I have a different belief system. I believe in sovereignty. I believe in kingship. I believe in hey, look, it's going to stir up the Christian community. But if you're a guy that wants to go out and get married multiple times, I think that's between you and those women. There's nothing in the Word of God that is counter to that. As a matter of fact, in both the Old Testament and the New Testament, it teaches that. As a matter of fact, it says to be an elder of the church in the New Testament. It says you must be a husband to one wife, alluding to the fact that you can be at that church, be a Christian, follow the faith, and have more than one wife. Now, I'm not condoning that at all. I'm just saying there's a broad misunderstanding of what the intent of God is within the Bible, and guys like Andrew Tate are capitalizing on it. Now, do I want that for myself? Heck to the no. It is frustrating enough to deal with one relationship and make that work and be strong and have a best buddy and a best friend and honor and cherish. Now, do I believe in the position of being submissive to that woman from a position of supporting, helping, exhorting, but not from a position of removing my authority in the home for that person? So there's some similarities there, and it doesn't mean, and look, this offends a lot of women. The second you start talking about this, offends. And I honestly, I get it. And it's because you've probably met that guy or lived with that guy, says, I'm the head of this house and you will submit to me. And you know what? That's not the guy that I'm talking about. I'm talking about a guy that you would want to submit to.
Right.
I'm talking about a guy that's going to lead and a guy that's going to be the head of his house, not because it's by right and not because he's demanding. It's just because he's good at it. And it's because you look at him as authority. You look at him as the love of your life. You look at him as like you would want to. And anyway, so
that's part of the problem right now is, you know, the feminist agenda is so strong, and then to have this guy show up, and then Joe Rogan. So basically, you know, two of the bigger known personalities in the world of social media are could not be more the antithesis to the feminist movement. So a lot of women are
by
just
design, though, Carmel. They got to put the women up against the men. It's by design.
It's another way to be divisive. This is what I'm saying. You keep pushing this thing. Hey, you women don't need men. You women don't need men. Yeah, women, you're on your own. Then okay. And then hey, you guys, you need to be the most manliest man of the man. Eat beef and spit blood and like what? And then now you create this huge divide where like, can dudes be dudes, women just be women without having all this other stuff? No, because this is how they win. If we could learn our roles and learn to play the way we used to play, there's no problem, you know, even just 40, 50 years ago. But all of a sudden now it's just so passion-filled, lace hate from the toxic masculinity talk to you got these, you know, the women who are so man-hating that they even become lesbian when that's not even what they want. And I never have understood why some lesbians look like men or act like men. If you want to be a lesbian, that's whatever it is, what it is. But you create
the same principle of a guy that's gay that wants to be a woman. It's the same. You know, talks really lightly, gently, softly, feminine.
And that's attractive to other gay men. Like, I don't get it.
You know, I thought if you were turning gay, it's because you wanted to be gay and be attracted towards a manly man. You know, I mean, I don't know. I guess there's some characteristics of whatever. This isn't about that show, but the bottom line is,
it's divisiveness. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, correct. And it's funny, Carmel. Even I'm not. We don't have a whole lot of views going on right now, but the second we started talking about this, and the word submission, our views cut in half. And so that's just a reality, because there's a lot of people out there that don't want to hear this. They want to be in charge, both men and women, and you really can't have that in a relationship. You can have equal, you can have everything, but there's going to come a time where, and we were talking about this in our last dialogue. It's like, well, you know, we're in bed and we hear a noise. Like, hey, babe, get up, go check it out. What? Oh, wait a minute. I'm good enough to be a man right now, but you want to emasculate me earlier today because of what? You know, I mean, it's like.
Yeah, because you want the other benefits, you know, just give me more money and, you know, give me more position and power, but like all the other stuff, nah, I'm not changing the tire. Like, forget that. I mean, and it's fine. Like, as a man, I've never been a problem with those things. That's what's so weird. Like, most of us men who are, you know, who raised well and had a father, you know, show us how to be a man, don't have a problem with doing manly things.
Bro, I did my laundry today. I did the dishes. I hired a team or two people to come and clean the house. Look, bottom line, I'm into the person to spend time with them. And it's not, I take the word submission off the table. It's been grossly overused. I think it's about this. It's like, you want me to change the tire when I need to? If I need a sandwich, would you please produce me a sandwich? You want me to get up and put my life on the line when it comes to? Help me out, hook me up whenever I need it. You know, I love those kind of videos where the guys, and many of the guys have kind of shown these videos over and over, where they haven't had sex with their wife or their spouse or the girlfriend or whatever for a week, and they got that caption right there, and they got their camera up in the corner of the the kitchen, and he walks out in the kitchen. Hey, babe, what's up, babe? And he smacks her hand and high fives her, and she's like trying to lean up and kiss him, and he's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. He's like, hey, rent's due in 2 days. Get on it, right? And so, what, you're paying rent? And then he walks by and he smacks her in the butt, and he said, all right, see you later. And it's like, there's some real content there, you know?
Yeah.
There's all these expectations, and she's in her gym outfit, and she just got done at the gym, and she's drinking her smoothie, and he's getting ready to go to the office or whatever to work. And he hasn't been hooked up in a week, and there's that divide in the relationship right there at that moment. And you got to be honest, man, us guys, we have a tendency to think that way. Like we'll be holding a little animosity. I mean, most guys over the age 55 or 60 probably don't. But the reality is when you're young and you're, you know, in a relationship, you want to be in a relationship that is mutually gratifying. And these days, women are being told, hold out, don't do it, use that against them. Women have no idea how powerful they are. And I think they misuse that power. And I think that there's a great combination here. But again, not to get off the topic, but this is what Andrew is honing in on, but from an abusive standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
From a very
I guarantee you, if someone said, and I brought up Kevin Samuels before, and you know, I feel like Kevin Samuels was more of the balance to what things Andrew Tate was talking about
from a Christian perspective, right? Wasn't he?
I mean, not necessarily Christian, but I mean, kind of a pseudo-Christian background. I mean, he had godly principles. It was really about the roles men and women are supposed to play, and he was just very unapologetic about it. And he was real. He was a realist. He was like, "Look, if you were a woman,
I don't even know who you're talking about. I got to Google this guy real quick.
Yeah, he passed away last year, or 2 years ago.
Was there
really weird? What's that?
Oh yeah, this guy. I love this guy.
Yeah.
I got to be honest with you. Some woman's like, yeah, I got this. I got a company. I got this. Yep. Okay. That's right. Yep. So what makes you think you deserve a man? Well, I don't need anything from him. I'm like, well, that's the exact wrong position to take. He said a man wants to be able to take care of his woman and doesn't want to think that he is not needed by her. Yeah. And he said, how much do you weigh? She's all 170. He's all, oh, dear Lord. How many kids do you have? She's all 3. How many husbands? 2. Are the kids from both husbands? No, I had one before. He's like, oh, so let me get this right. What do you do for a living?
Yeah.
He was smacking her down and putting her in a proper perspective about her, where she thinks she's at.
Yeah, her expectations were crazy. And then, like, for some reason, and I know why, women are given this idea that, yeah, I can live a life any way I want, make a bunch of poor choices. I shouldn't say poor, just make choices. And you have now this result in your life, and they still think they deserve the world. And I'm not saying as a value standpoint that, you know, you devalued because of your choices, but like, let's be realistic. If this person that you're desiring didn't make those same choices, most likely they're not going to be okay with the ones you made. So what Kevin Samuels was good at was really quickly getting down to the legitimate situation that these women were in. It's like, look, if this is this, here's what's real for you. Here's what's not. Because if it was flipped, here's the thing about it. If it was flipped, because everyone, we want equality. If it was flipped, a man could not come at a woman like that. If he was like overweight, had a few repos, was married and divorced a few times, maybe wasn't the best looking guy, he's not getting a chance. There's just no way. And I've always tried to, explain this. Like women choose. Women have the selection. It's up to them to decide that they want to be in a relationship. Men present themselves. Women are the prize, as we always say that. So we're trying to, win a woman over. So we come with those things to make them feel loved and cherished or whatever, feel good. Even if it's the first date, women aren't expected to have flowers for the guy on the first date, right?
Hey, somebody just typed out Nigger. on our live video feed.
They spelled the country wrong. It's actually Niger. I've never been there.
I love you, brother.
They spelled the country wrong. Tell me they got to work on the spelling.
That is comical, man. That's a great retort, man.
That's what I do.
Yeah,
That's what I do.
good.
But yeah, Kevin Samuels, and it's funny. I didn't really know much about him, much like Andrew Tate, till the end. And like his passing was very weird. They said he had a heart attack while doing the do. The guy looked to be in really good shape and seemed to take care of himself pretty well. I don't know, but again, when you start touching on things and start making a difference and people start listening to you, and it's not the agenda people that they who are out there want, yeah, you get shut down pretty quick. So speaking of which, they said when Andrew Tate comes back, he'll have a huge platform. I don't know if Andrew Tate's been on Joe Rogan's show before, but I think that might be probably the biggest episode ever. If Andrew Tate was interviewed by Joe Rogan. I don't know if they're like on opposite ends of the spectrum and don't really like get down with each other like that, but I couldn't see why they wouldn't. That would be crazy to watch. The questions he would ask and the answers Tate would have would be something else.
Your Kai is he defended you there, but I already got rid of all the messages, so Kai deleted his message. That's funny. Hey, Carmel, I gotta give you serious prompts right now, because like I had a show the other day. I told you about it, and I got affected by a text that I got 10 minutes before, and I reacted wrong. And you just schooled me on how to properly react, and in times of hate, in times of ridiculous, in times of, you got to know who you are. And and it's not about, a lot of times people are believing, and that's why they're affected by, all of a sudden I am that. And, I'm that, who said that? It's like, no, that's not the correct way to spell the country. And that's hilarious, bro. I mean, that's hilarious. You defended and deflected, and you didn't soak it in, That's super. It was a lesson for me. So I want to just tell you, I appreciate that, because
for sure, bro. For sure.
I predominantly I've had nothing but Black and Asian friends and in my life, and I've seen all kinds of just hate speech, and I don't get it. I really don't. And for the record, if you believe in Jesus, he was black. He was black as black gets. So, you're worshiping a black son of God, and
wow,
I find that's a whole nother conversation.
Let's see where those views go now.
Yeah, anyway,
and it's interesting, even getting back to Tate, and him being mixed. His dad's black, his mom's white. It's just funny. Like, I always bring this up. Black people make up 13% of the population in this country, but we are in the center of everything. Like, I don't care. I mean, the two people we just mentioned, Kevin Samuels and Andrew Tate, are both black. Like, it's all like, how do we always end up in the center of the controversy? Yet we only have 13% of the people in this country. It almost seems intentional and unintentional. Part of it is just who we are. We just draw attention to ourselves because of our abilities and all that. But like, it's also seemingly like, okay, let's put up this person here, hold them up, show them to people, and then like they chop them down, or they emasculate them, or they make them like a pariah. The whole Will Smith thing, I still feel like it was staged. I don't know why.
Dude, I feel it was staged too, and I think it was. That's a whole nother conversation, but I look at Will Smith as probably the most compromised man in his manhood, trying to be a man, and the reality is his wife knows he's a bisexual. His wife knows of those relationships that he's had with who, I'm sure not all of them, but I'm sure she knows. And there's got to be that element of being, emasculated by her on live TV over and over. That, yeah, I could see where that would piss me off and make me want to get up and go smack somebody. But dude, the guy was trained in Ali for 4 months to be a professional fighter, morning, noon, and night. If he was there just to smack a guy, which he obviously did, what the one thing I don't get with that is why Chris Rock knew it was coming. You could see his face, like, oh, I got to endure this. Like, I can't duck and move. Like, I can't lean my head back. I can't, anybody that's walking up to you, I'm telling you, I don't care if I'm on stage or what, I'm thinking twice about what my next response is. And that's just me. I don't know if that's Chris Rock or whatever, but it looked very scripted.
Very scripted.
And
if I'm really mad at somebody, like that, probably not going to slap someone. It's probably going to be a punch. And Will Smith.
Can you imagine if he knocked him out cold? Then
if that had happened, I would have believed it.
That would have been a show.
Yeah, that would have been a show.
Been the biggest Oscar draw, and you know what? There's a lot of reasons for why it happened. I think it was for the purposes of drawing more people to the Oscars, to get the Oscar buzz and the Oscar talk and all that stuff. But
it definitely did. It definitely helped. Definitely.
Who knows? So what are we going to do? I mean, honestly, let's look at this from a standpoint of this guy wants to eradicate Christianity off the table, and I know that you're not the same man that you were a few years ago in your thought processes, and I don't blame you, quite frankly, but I have a different one. But I don't believe it's fair to see the guy in the position that he's in to start prompting hate speech, and that's truly hate speech, across the world. If I can be taken down for talking about the love of Christ, this guy can't be taken down for talking about the hate of Christ and talking about eradicating Christianity, which means you'd eradicate the people. Because there's people that are going to have different faiths all over the world, and you're just going to, the reality is whether people want to. And here's an interesting thing about the name Allah, in Arabic. If you take the name of God in the Bible in Arabic, not in Hebrew, but in Arabic, I think it's in Arabic, and you go like this, you smush it together, you turn it around, and then you flip it upside down, it spells Allah. Looks exactly like Allah in Arabic. And so,
well, look, people forget how, like, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam are Abrahamic religions. These all come from the same area, basically from the same branches of the same tree.
Same Torah.
Jesus is in the Quran. Like, it's not, this is, whether they speak to him the same way the Bible does, but all these are it's the same stuff. And even where they got their spirituality and their principles from are from the same place. So again, though, it creates division. Let's make the Muslims get this. It's Isaac getting mad at his brother Ishmael. It's like, this is what this is. Like, let's create more division, because that's how we win. It's a whole divide and conquer thing. If we learned to accept the fact that we're very similar, not different. If you got fighting over Israel with the Palestinians and the Israelis, you got way back when at Protestants and Catholics going at it. It's always going to be something. But like, it's funny because you don't see anyone fighting the Buddhists or Hindus. Like, it's like, because they're peaceful religions. They don't get down like that. But these Abrahamic religions over here, bro, like, they always want to pick up guns and swords and start cutting and shooting people. I'm like, aren't we supposed to be peaceful? Like, this is not the first thing we're supposed to be is loving and caring and open to people. Like, no, we're chopping people down. So that's what I think needs to happen, is we stop looking at agendas. That's one thing I hate about politics, is people get so caught up in agendas and not understanding that none of it is supposed to help you. It's all supposed to create division. if you look behind the scenes, like what's going on back there, like what are you hiding from me? What are you not showing me? What is the overarching idea? What is the high level, big scheme, 10,000 mile perspective? People get caught up in the weeds about these different laws getting passed and this third about this guy doesn't matter. It does not matter. If we're united, it's way different. And those are the same principles that got people killed and shut down and quieted. Is when someone started talking about uniting people. Whether it was Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, the Black Panthers, Che Guevara, any of these guys that start uniting people, not just like one group of people. Because people, I don't know, have you seen the movie Jesus and the Black Messiah? It's about the Black Panthers. But yeah, you should watch it.
Me and my fellow brothers missed that one.
It's a good one. You should watch it because it talks about when the Black Panthers actually started getting infiltrated to shut them down is when they were uniting other races. They were talking to the brown berets, the Hispanics. They were talking to some of the they were talking to some of the disenfranchised, just white people who were lower or impoverished. They were feeding everyone. It was just crazy. People don't know that the Black Panthers started WIC. A lot of the stuff that the Black Panthers did had nothing to do with being militant or aggressive. They were protecting themselves.
What is WIC?
Women, infant, and children. It's a program for people who are on like welfare or cash aid or something like that to get benefits, to get food. WIC's all across the country. Black Panthers started that. Now they won't say it, blatantly, but if you read, they were doing that, and then all of a sudden there's these WIC centers that are popping up. So anyway, I forget what they called the program, but it was something similar. Anyway, when they started uniting Black with brown and white, that's when they got shut down. When Martin Luther King did his speech, it's not I Have a Dream speech. It was the speech he did, I believe, at Stanford or Berkeley, talking to underserved, underprivileged white folks about all of us getting together. That's when he got shot and killed. So whenever someone starts talking about uniting people and getting rid of this divisiveness, that's when there's an issue. So Tates and people like that, if they can make people get riled up and angry, that's what they want.
Yeah, that's a problem, and to me, that's I'm just going to call it right now. I think he is misdirected in understanding Christianity 100%, but I think it's by design. For him to take this much of a massive platform and push against Christianity at large, just because he got an earful from a Muslim, higher up, that this is what he should do, I think he's misguided. And I 100%. Think
because a true Muslim wouldn't even do that. A true Muslim or a true Christian or a true Jew would never tell someone to go kill somebody else.
Yeah.
If you're looking at the true religion from the standpoint of loving your neighbor as yourself, well, if I'm supposed to love my neighbor as myself, why would I kill him? I'm going to kill myself.
Well, that's Christianity. I don't know what necessarily. I haven't studied the Quran. I've only studied a few verses in the Quran, and a few of the verses were kind of shocking to me. Like you can lie to a infidel until you get to the point where you can lop their head off, quote unquote, something to that degree. There's some pretty interesting verses that kind of blew my mind a little bit, but the bottom line is there is coming a time in the very near future where they, and this is their own words, they will be at war with Christianity, and that Christians will be given a choice to convert to Muslim or die. And I find that very interesting that Andrew Tate is using that platform now and as a newly converted Muslim to take the sword against Christianity on a public scale like he is. And I think that either he is extremely naive and not as smart as because Andrew Tate is a smart dude.
So yeah, I wouldn't even go that route. I don't think he's not smart. I think it's planned. I think he knows exactly what he's doing.
That's my whole point. That's my whole point. And if he was honestly going to be taken down or deplatformed, or, I think all of this is to prompt him up to have the largest podcast ever, and he is going to come hard against. You watch, if he says anything about Christianity, Western, anything, this is the podcast to watch out for. When he gets out, there's no charges made. That's the podcast, and it's all by design, and it's unfortunate, because here he is. He's a very smart dude. He's got a great platform. Unfortunately, he's being played by the world power structure. He's a guy. I've got the solutions for the Matrix. He hasn't got crap for solutions on how to come out. It's all about being a G, being top dog, taking top dog classes, being his VIP crew. And ever since he became a Muslim, it's no drinking. He's supposedly really converted. And so I'm intrigued as to how he's being either used, or is he just been a plant all along? Because I don't think he would let people use him for the purposes of the world order.
Well, it's kind of timely that we're even talking about this. If I'm not mistaken, Ramadan just started on maybe Wednesday or Thursday. I wonder if he's fasting.
Inside prison, I'm sure he is.
You think he really is in prison?
Bro, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think he is. I don't think he is. I think he's probably away. He's not in the public eye for a reason, and it's when you've been living that kind of lifestyle, why would you dip out unless you get arrested? Now I have to not show my face. I don't think he's arrested. I think he's just not in the public view. Maybe just for what you're saying, it sets up anticipatory strategies for people to get hyped up and ready. We're putting it out here first that he's going to come out and say something crazy, have a worldwide watching of this podcast. We'll see what happens. I'm not scared either way. And if a Muslim asks me either one, I'm neither. So I'm not Republican or Democrat. Not Muslim or a Christian. Now what? Because that's the other thing. People, speaking of the Matrix, people, if you haven't seen it, need to watch it again. There's one thing people need to be aware of, is the illusion of choice. People think they only have two choices. In the Matrix, what is the two main choices people have?
Red and blue.
The red and blue. What if he didn't take either? What would have happened? What if we took both? What would happen? Who makes you think I have to choose one or the other? Because as soon as you made a choice, they say it's no going back. Okay. It's the illusion of choice. It's Republican and Democrat. That's the red and blue. It's Android, it's iPhone. It's freaking Target. When I keep mentioning this, it's always the illusion of choice. If someone comes up to me and asks you to choose one or the other, most of the time that question is because there's something tangential to you about that question that makes it personal. As soon as you detach yourself from that,
and that's a whole nother thing. You don't even need to answer their questions, Carmel. It's not. Some people feel this obligation or this need. It's like, holy crap! If somebody's going to come up and manhandle me and have me try to make a choice on something, I'm just going to look at them and say, I don't need to address your question. Have a good day. Bottom line, it's like, I live another day. I need to make a decision today. No, I don't. Get out of here. And then pull my shirt above my Glock, bottom line.
Right.
It's a sad state we're in, but the bottom line is for us as the world right now, it's like we have, I don't know of a bigger murdering class and I don't think the Christians are the murderers, but in the perspective and the eyes of the Muslim community and all across the world, in the name of Christianity, which quote unquote America has touted that name for 250 years, in the name of Christianity, we're going across the world and we're causing wars. We're causing rumors of wars. We're causing, desolation. We're causing countries to go from something to completely being a decimated. Iraq was a fourth best military in the world, and General, what's his name? North.
Oh, in North.
In the 90s, got a memo in the Pentagon saying we're going to take over 6 countries in the Middle East in the next 10 years. And that's exactly what happened. And so everything that you saw about Iraq, everything you saw about, all these Middle East takeovers, the only one they didn't do is Iran. But what are they doing? They're infiltrating them from within, and they're controlling them through the Muslim Brotherhood, through these organizations that they already control. They don't need to go in and take them over. They need to go in and use religion to take. Muslims are played as much as Christians are played. We are all being played, and Andrew is a big bishop on the chessboard. He is a big pawn in this game. And I think he's being used either as a direct or indirect asset to the CIA, or to an organization that's going to try to lead hate rhetoric against the Christian faith over the next year.
And let's not forget, there's been people who have been sacrificed or played or put in a position. Some people know that Osama bin Laden at one point was working for the CIA and the government. Same thing with bin Laden.
It's a CIA asset, 100%.
Same thing with the other guy who was killed. Just forgetting his name now. Who was the other leader of the other country? Not the rebel.
You're talking about the guy who tried to take his planes off with gold? Gaddafi?
Now, Gaddafi. So I'm getting to Gaddafi, but not Gaddafi. The other guy that was in the Middle East around the same time bin Laden was. I can't remember his name now. But see, Gaddafi is interesting because it's the same situation where they try to make this guy look like this tyrannical leader. What people don't know behind the scenes is Gaddafi.
They loved him.
Right? He was trying to connect his country and his people and provide them a whole new way of living, a new banking system, disconnected from the world banking system. But what do we see? We're showing that this guy is just a terror. This guy is treating these people horribly. No, it actually wasn't. He had a bunch of gold. He had a bunch of money. He had a way to get his country out of their matrix.
He may have been insane. He may have surrounded himself with women. He may have done some little backwards things. But the reality was, the people loved him. And that's a fact. And when you take a look at these countries that we took over and what the reasoning was, it was a lot of Western hype and provocation and you know what? Iran was doing whatever they could in their mind to protect themselves. Iraq was doing whatever they could to protect themselves. Gaddafi, same thing.
Saddam Hussein is what I'm thinking of.
Saddam Hussein, Iraq. Yeah, he remember the final war with his boys, the shootout, and how they displayed the boys, and so that everybody can see that they were truly dead. And the mock trial with Saddam, this, that, and the other, and getting their own people to hate on him and bring him to a region where he did genocide. And these guys that are in charge, they're moving the chess pieces across the board like so perfectly.
Yep.
And it's always positioning us against one another based on feelings, emotions, religion, faith, sex, now gender. Now, I mean, everything is flipped. It's cops against blacks. It's Hispanics against blacks. It's, everybody's divided. There isn't anybody talking, bringing people together and making them work as one. And those people that are, you're right, are getting murdered.
Shut down with the quick. I mean, even the BLM movement, which was interesting, that created division, which was hilarious. I'm like, what? like even when there's something for us to get behind, it didn't. It actually created more division. Now people are like, oh, all lives matter. And it was just so asinine, that whole situation, that whole time period. And even stuff that was going on, that there was so many things. People don't know this, that in a lot of the inner cities and hood areas, they were dropping off bricks, pallets of guns, pallets of, like, wait, what? In the middle of the street like a Home Depot delivery. Like,
Well, not just that. I mean, just Carmel, for full disclosure, and it's not it's BLM, but it's hiring whites, blacks, Mexicans, anybody that wants to make 40, $50 an hour by the George Soros funded groups. They were bussed in, dropped off, and bricks and rocks and square pallets were dropped off, and they would rile them up, and then they would walk down the streets. And what people don't know is Amazon and Bill Gates and all the towns that got destroyed, those companies bought those towns up. We are all and here and a statement to the youth of today who participated in that and who kind of were destroying the lives of your family and your friends, meaning, and maybe you came from a different community, maybe you came from down the street or a different county, obviously. You destroyed lives. You hurt people in the name of something that they had nothing to do with, the pain that you caused them. They had nothing to do with hating black people. They had nothing to do with, your agenda you're trying to accomplish. And what you basically were being used for was to keep the worst sitting president ever, meaning the Democratic Party, to allow for. I mean, they did. Dude, can you believe they had Chazville in Washington? 3-block radius that was no cops, nothing, completely rogue, and they called it Chazville. Do you remember that? You don't remember this in Washington? Is it already? There was such. No, yeah, look it up. Where in Washington, I think it was Seattle or Portland. No, it wasn't Portland. Portland had problems too, but no, there was Chazville or something like that, and it was completely ran by the people. No cops were allowed in. They had blocked it off. They would, they were going door to door. They were extorting from people. There was transsexuals that were going door to door and forcing guys to take it in the butt. I mean, all kinds of stories like this came out of that little community.
Chazville?
Something like that.
Wow.
You never heard of this, Kamara?
No. When was this?
When they were trying to shut down the Chaz, was in Seattle. Thanks, Sonny. CHAZ. When it was, just type Chaz, community in Seattle. It was when they were going through the year leading up to the election. There was complete anarchy in multiple cities, and all of a sudden,
I remember that.
Yeah, and Seattle was completely torn apart by this whole thing. It was for months. There was no cops allowed in. And you know what? I would have been super proud of these people if they would have pulled it off with no cops. But instead, there was guys that were put into there to show that they couldn't do it without the law enforcement or without military. Trump actually had supposedly off-duty federal agents and military off-duty going in there privately, no uniforms, ARs, tactical, and they were hitting the streets hard, and they were taking ammo, taking guns off the streets, snatching it up from people walking down with they were walking down the streets with ARs. They were just snatching them up.
Wow.
And dude, it was a complete, anarchy on the streets. And unfortunately,
I do remember those protests. I didn't know they were called Chaz.
Well, just this one was, and it was just a community, Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. Chaz, Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. Thanks, Sonny. It was crazy. So what do we do about this, Carmel? How do we help in the situation now? Because here we are, just a couple brothers. We get along.
Yeah.
We have different faith. We have different color.
I think the conversation is the first part, and then it always starts at home, our inner circle. Like, if this show ever got big to the point where we could have a influence over millions of people, it'd be great. But again, people coming together is not typically what the agenda owners of the agenda want, but
I don't
we
care.
keep trying. We don't care.
I believe in the ideology that if we don't just say something and talk it through, and just there's got to be a smart way to get the message out that we should be uniting. I mean, we're living proof that we don't need to be divided because of color. We're living proof we don't need to be divided because of religion or in differences in faith. Just because I'm funny and you're not, we don't need to be divided on that.
You know, it's okay if you're not the best looking guy and I am. It's all right. You know.
True. I'll give you that. I'll give you that. Hey,
It's better
shout out to Randy. I would like to bring her on our show for a topic of health, because you got a guy that you want to bring on in health too, right? I think that's a huge conversation piece. She does a lot of unique stuff in relation to studying the tongue. And she says the tongue will tell you everybody or tell you everything about the person. And she's really helped a lot of people. So she's in discussions with, you know who Charlie Ward is? She's already been on his show.
Yeah.
And she's in discussions with another major radio network right now. So good for her. But
that's another place people are getting divided. So we definitely have this conversation.
Well, health is huge because everybody's got this thing of, hey, I want to go and get the injection, and that's the only way to go. And, you know, people were horrifically divided on that before. Now all that crew that was, you know, giving all that hate speech on the quote unquote anti-V people are now being silenced with the results. And so I think that's an interesting topic that we'll never be able to discuss on YouTube, but we can on HISadvocates.tv. But it's a sad state that we're in, that we can't even make that statement of what's really transpiring. But there is a huge divide there.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you bring that up to Fauci about what's actually happening, he says, wait till pandemic 2. He said, it's going to be unlike anything you've ever seen. And so we got to talk through the would-haves and the could-haves and what-ifs and what could happen this year, because I think this year, next year, and 26 are going to be the 3 biggest years of this world's history we've ever seen. And I'm not saying that lightly.
Yeah, I'm with it.
I'm with it. All right, brother, enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'll chat at you Wednesday, 4 p.m. Pacific. I'm not sure we want to talk about Andrew again. Do you?
I'm good.
I'm good.
Good.
I'm good. Enjoy your weekend, brother. We'll chat soon, man. Have a great weekend.
You too, bro.
All right, see ya.